we had some friends of ours that were asking us about what's really happening with Armageddon and the apocalypse and Abaddon and Apollo and this the pit and this whole scenario, what's happening in the book of Revelation. And it's actually it's where we need to go because of what we need to bring forward into the revelation of really what's transacting out of the deep, what's coming out of the deep of the pit.
And that's so that we can get rid of fear.
Yeah, this is all to diminish fear. And again, if we can shed light on this and we can realize that actually right now we are in Armageddon, because it's not, I think people are waiting for, and this was their question, is that I think most people are waiting for Armageddon as an outward manifestation. It's like they're waiting for this battle to take hold. And it's already really afoot right now. It's already, because it's within us. Everything is an inward, as you know, everything is an inward reality. And so if we can see it correctly, we realize the battle is the battle within. That's really what Armageddon's about. We're going to shed light on it.
So the illusion is on the outside and what is real is on the inside.
Right. And we've talked about this before about that those that, because we've partnered with the lesser narrative of Revelation, then therefore we are creating a construct that's going to manifest as an outward reality. And we're probably going to see a world, in conflict based on a narrative of Revelation on the lesser.
Right. And the lesser reality being the English translation.
The English translation.
Yep.
And so, again, what we've been mandated with is the mantle of sharing a greater perspective to create a new reality that is tethered to Father, to say if we can look into the extraction, we can extrapolate out a frequency of higher degree that allows for a different construct to be presented. And everything is about the wrestle within that produces the intention. Mother is wrestle, Father is intention. Mother is at the beginning, Father is at the end, and we are squeezed through the Ruach for the pressing of what needs to come out of the experience of love.
Right.
And so in Hebrew, Har Megiddo is pronounced Armageddon in Greek, or Armageddon in Greek is Har Megiddo in Hebrew, however. And a lot of this is like the Spirit gave me a while ago, is how do you reach to restore if there's ignorance to neglect? And again, there's people that are just waiting, like we'll just continue on with our normal lives, but not realizing that the wrestle is ongoing and it's happening right now. So we even look at the word. So let's first break down the word and its definition to see what really Armageddon is saying. And I did some research, and the scholars are actually saying that the Armageddon, meaning the Mount of Megiddo, is derived from the Hebrew moed, which means assembling or meeting place. So let's go to that word first, and that's we'll just keep this in order. So can you go to 4150, Strong's 4150? And it's called that Armageddon would be the mountain of assembly. And I can see why they say this by my extraction. This is what I'm just tying in what the scholars have said, and I can see why they have said this, because it is the mountain of meeting where we meet ourselves. But they make it's very vague. They don't really allow too much, availability of really why. It's just this is what they call it, and this is left to us to dig out. So we can see that Moed is directly connected to appointed time, a place of meeting, a festival. And if we go down further, that we can also see that a place of meeting, also a signal, right? We know that ties into even to Tav, right? A signal and a beacon. And even in that word, really, we have Mother's piercing prepares us for intimacy's encounter. This is the deep knowing of even the Mem Vav Ayin Dalet. This is Mother is teaching us sovereign humility. This is the knowing that allows us to enter into Father's chamber or Father's door of encounter, into his greater revelation. And that's the meeting place. That's the final meeting place, is that I think that most of us are looking for, is the encounter with Father through the journey of Mother.
May I add to, I think it's interesting, the Ein Dalet on the end?
Yes.
Being a witness and a testimony.
You're right.
It's time. But it's witness.
Right.
And a testimony in time.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then the very first occurrence of this in Genesis 1:14 is all added lameds,
Right.
right? You've got the lamed Aleph Tav Tav, the twin covenants, and then you've got the same thing, the appointed time, place, and meaning has got a lamed in front of that. And then for the days,
Right.
like that's pretty fantastic in the importance of that.
And this is really good because we can't, again, it's such gentle steps to get clarity on really what's transacting, because
with a really big picture.
Right, because both these lameds are huge, and this is what we're going to shed light onto. We're going to try to, but again, we have to be careful in presenting it so we don't really miss any steps, because this is all about gentle inclination is all about acclimation, right? If we misstep, then we're causing people to breathe incorrectly. We're reaching, like someone just asked you, how did you get to the place you're at based on what you came out of the Christian, really the
Well,
concept?
they wanted to know if there was something that happened in my life that made me challenge and question my foundation in Christianity.
But really,
like a one-time event or a tragedy or something,
and it wasn't. It wasn't really, and that's what I'm trying to shed light on. It's the incremental journey of inclination that the gradual produces the full turning.
Right.
And then and we didn't realize where we were until we stopped at a hillside and went, oh my goodness, we could see 360.
Right.
But we didn't know, though, because
No.
on the trail it just seems like we were just walking on our narrow path.
Well, as the spirit would leave, not
Right.
realizing that we had made a full circle from the beginning to the end.
Right. I'm speaking metaphorically that we were on our wilderness trail and we were just kind of singing and jazzing along, and then the next thing you know, we came to a clearing at a plateau, and we're like, oh my goodness, isn't this beautiful? So it wasn't an event other than it was an event, but it was just a gentle progression of journey. So if we take this, so these laments are going to come up a little later on, why they're in this as a meeting place, because both these laments will be established in the resonance of the name of what is, because this would be, as you know, mother's teaching lamed and father's teaching lamed, right?
Yeah.
That we have both pointings or goadings or directions of the light bearer that is established through the lesser that would then grant opportunity for the greater, right? And then and then they come together, and
as one,
and that would be representation of ark, right? A completed vessel would be representation of ark or the fullness of covenant,
right?
So let's go to the root of this. Let's go to 3529. So we have a meeting time, an appointed time, and it's directly connected to an engagement or a summon to trial, but it's really even connected to engage for marriage.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is this? So again,
that's huge.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you're talking about the divine sacred marriage within and activating the Kundalini. I mean, that's a big deal.
It is. And so when we're still talking about Armageddon, though, right? But but Armageddon is this word that is tethered to battle and blood, and up to the bridle there will be blood, and all this horrific stuff that has to encounter, but yet it's directly connected to an appointed time that is uniquely fixed with marriage.
Right, and so this word is used in the book of Revelation, the book of revealing.
The book of revealing, and
it's an appointed time in the book of revealing,
right?
Which it's really good idea that we know what's going on here,
right? So let's go to Armageddon in Greek. And
before we do that, though, I find it, just because I think it's important for us to not miss this point. So the root is Yod Ein Dalet, right? And so we've got a witness and a testimony in time. But what is added in the written form, right, is now we have the mem in front of it.
Right.
That's big.
This is
right, because the Yod always tells us that something's supposed to connect. And so in this place, that vision was given, and now we're connecting to it. And how did we do it? Through the living water teachings of Mother and Father.
Right. Yeah.
Because they get us ready for marriage.
Yes. Har Meggido, if we could break it up into just terms that we get in through inculcation, that we use the same terminologies that we don't lose track. But so Har Meggido is directly connected to Mother's Mountain. Mother's Mountain is the piercing mountain that deals with internal sophistication, or a lesser narrative of ego construct in the negative sense, because there is still a healthy ego. But in the negative, Mother would strip us in preparation, because she already knows, again, for the meeting that's about to happen to encounter Father, we need to be stripped bare
of the beast ego,
so Father can cloak us in the garments of the full authority of meekness.
Right.
And so there's no room for there's a calibration that's transacting. And again, when we say acclamation and ascension language, what we're doing, it's still we're walking on the flat plane, but it still is an inclination metaphorically. And
right, in maturation.
Right, and even metaphoric. Metaphoric is simply a language of crossing over, right?
Change.
A place of change, right? Transmutation. That's what it really means. So yeah, so we are going up Mother's mountain that pierces us.
Right.
So we now are pierced with the Vav through Mother in time.
Right. So that we can be a witness and a testimony.
This is the witness and the testimony.
Because the fountain has been opened
right.
within them. They see, and they have gone through the door of their inner man.
In the completion of these ones that have journeyed Moed would be sackcloth and ashes, because in time they are a witness and a testimony, and they are adorned in sackcloth and ashes.
Right, because because that's the adorning and bedecking as well.
Right, and
exactly.
So this is the knowing of what is and what is not, and now they are completed, and so that would be their bedecking. And it's not sackcloth as a no one's walking around in sackcloth. They are fully consumed.
Well, it's a frequency.
It's a frequency, and they're the frequency of the judges, because they've self-adjudicated to comprehend ascension and in the resonance of intention and the likeness of Father, as Yeshua was.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So yes, absolutely, a lot in this, and it's sometimes difficult to extrapolate out for clarity's sake, but we're doing the best we can. So let's go to Strong 717, just to look at the Greek word for Armageddon.
There.
Okay, so we can see that it's in its description. It says it's of a Hebrew origin, and it's Har and it's Megiddo, and then it's a symbolic name. So it's just a symbol. It's stating we're trying to break down the symbol for clarity's sake. Okay, and so we don't need to go much on that. That's kind of what it is. It just says that. So let's go to the Hebrew now of what it says. So let's go to
Har.
Let's go to 2022, which is been our number for a long time,
yes,
right?
It has.
So this is Love's Mountain, just so we can connect it. 222. So Mother is love. If we embrace the affliction, if we find the resolve of affliction, then we've found really what Mother's producing is humility, and so this is humility's resolve is meekness, and so
even just in the letters. It's the revelation to raise up the head.
Absolutely.
To be a first fruit.
And the resh is already a bent head. It's already stating that Mother's mountain is a bent head one.
And because you start in the poor and destitute state.
Right.
And you're spiritually poor and destitute.
Right.
So
Har is pretty straightforward. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. We know that it roots out at 2042, and it's just another resh, which would be Father's mountain. This is how we progress into the deeper revelation of the double anointing would be the other resh added. You're now a twin-headed one. And I've had this vision of a twin dove. And so this is now ascending through Mother's affliction, humbly, acclimating to resolve, and then awaiting. And this is what we're doing right now. We're all in the place of waiting right now for this second resh. And this would be the completed mountain, the 42, and the double anointed. Unless you want to share something with that, you can.
Well, just the first occurrence of it, I think it's interesting again. So we've got the language here of the first occurrence where it does talk about the king, king of Moab. But really, when you look at that, that is a mother and a father that's been connected.
Right.
Right. Ma and Ab.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it's the measurement.
Mother is pierced. Pierced through to join mother and father together. Absolutely.
Exactly. And then we've already got the living water teachings.
Yeah.
So the first two letters means, what is it? What is this mountain? Right? Ma, what is this mountain?
Right.
What are these two heads that give power, means, and direction? Which is the Yod. I mean, who are they?
Yeah.
So, and of course, you're not going to see it in English.
No.
So
yeah,
it's really interesting to dig it.
We've over and over again. It's so easy to go sideways when we're extrapolating out because, and I've done it 1,000 times as you have.
Well, and this also is talking about ancient of days, like the ancient times, before Kadam, prior.
Right.
What used to be here.
Right. And that's exactly where we're going. I was sharing with Jesse that, it's like we've almost come to the place where as far away from it as we are to it.
Right.
Doesn't matter where and this is just where we were. And so any turn, we've got to the place where any turn in either direction is now bringing us back to the garden. And that's where we've been in this last cycle.
So having said that, this is to come. This would be a halak thing. So what are we asking to come from the east, Kadam, that which was ancient, Father's revelation,
right,
which was originally in the garden, the spirit that was removed.
And that's where we're going right now. So we've been doing this. This has been happening for many years now, is that we've gotten so far away from it. We're as close to it as we are far away from it. And there's nowhere to go other than any direction brings us back into the revelation of the garden. And that's right. This is purpose. This is exactly the time that we're in.
So this is like taking us back to the garden and the gardener.
Yes, and because everything's
the judges.
Yes, and we have to find this breach, and so yes, but we have to have the ability to have legal access back to the garden.
Right.
We can't just be meandering around and going, hey. So there is legal access. There is a protocol of law that holds things established in its reasonings and in its order.
Right.
This is all order, and so let's go to Megiddo, and it's in Strong's 4023 in Hebrew. So now we have Har. Now we have the mountain of Megiddo,
where it says a tower. A tower. 4023.
Right. Yeah, and it roots down in its own word. Yeah, and we're gonna extrapolate that out because, and you can do it right now actually. So we see that it's actually from. Well, let's do it right now. Let's go to 4023 or A. It'll be an A there, so we can show that.
A tower.
A tower, and then go to the B too.
Okay.
Just to show it, and then we can come back and we can just be done with that, and we can take these roots too later on. But now this is interesting because this is the place of Manasseh.
Right. Megiddo, so that's already connected to forgetting.
Right. So Megiddo is the place of forgetting. So the mountain of forgetting, but we have to ascend the journey through inclination allows for the acclamation of remembering. This is what we're doing. Remembering comes by bits and bytes. Just like the person asked you, how'd you get there? This is exactly what we're explaining, is that acclamation of our path allows us to remember much.
Well, and you think about hiking, right? So when you're climbing up a mountain at 8,000 feet, when you first get there, you can hardly breathe.
Exactly. So the gifting of information, if someone was to place us on mountain's top of the fullness of remembering, we would probably shatter our reality. It's detrimental to our health.
Hence why we need to acclimate to the journey.
That's why this is what we're trying to do, to share with people, is that there's a lot of people that want the information, but the gentleness of the teacher is really knowing how to steward the student.
Right.
To release enough information that they're still growing, but not so much information. And we know this very well, that we popped a couple corks of walking away, of going, I can't take any more information. I'm undone right now.
You've done it to me.
Right.
No, you've done it to me. Both of you.
I'm speaking in love here that
we're speaking to the spirit.
We're speaking, right. And so because there is so much information, it's all, I mean, how do you really present all if all is connected?
I know.
Right.
Well, in bits and pieces, and drips and drops.
Right. And then it starts to make sense of itself. So we have Megiddo, and so we can go to, there's only one in 4023. So yeah, so it's directly connected to tower, and it's directly connected to a place of Manasseh. And we know that Manasseh is forgetting.
Right.
And so we have to climb the tower this is how we're able to see correctly from the top of the tower. And this is really connected to the brain. We're going to talk about the brain and how this connects maybe in the next teaching.
Yeah, and that makes sense, that because we're talking about what is sitting over us and ruling and reigning us. And they brought that up because the very first occurrence of this has king in it again.
Right.
Right? So now we have this word, Megiddo, Megiddon, and it has king.
Well, we can go to this verse if you want to, because this is actually a mirrored verse. And so we can see it from the perspective of the 12, and we can gaze in at 21. But absolutely. So just so we can give like a precursor to where we're going in this, Har Megiddo is directly connected to the amygdala, and this is the seat of our brain, where we have potential for having fear or peace depending on what we've worked on. But this ties into the hippocampus, into the amygdala, into the thalamus, and really the endocrine system, and what you're dealing with, Jesse, as far as the whole healing of
the limbic system.
This is all about the limbic system.
Yeah.
This is Armageddon. So I'm just releasing that right now. Then we're going to extrapolate out to say why I'm saying this. And
so in other words, you're saying the battle is in our brain.
The battle is in our brain.
Right.
Armageddon is in your brain.
This is actually really good for people to understand that, because we've been talking about the beast ego nature for a long time, and how it protects the heart. It doesn't want the heart to be pierced because it's in control of the head.
Bring up the picture.
Right?
Can you bring up Jesse's picture again? Just that one picture that he drew for me of the vision I had, just so people can see what we're translating to say. And this is exactly this is the Battle of Armageddon right here, Har Megiddo. This is the ascension of Mother to the journey of the returning fish going back upstream. Mother is the mother bear.
Oops.
And she is the guardian. She is the gate to access to Father, and she will either spit you out or allow you to pass depending on the resonance of frequency. Those that look like fish, she's going to throw them on the rocks hot and bare. Those that are resonating into the deep waters, they will bypass and they will enter the temple at the fish gate.
Well, it's interesting. Can I add something there? Because I've been pondering this about the fish. There's two ways to spell it. There's dag and there's noon.
Right.
So the dag fish, the dogfish, anybody that has gone fishing in lakes, you catch the dogfish, which they don't have any value. Right? And it's a dalet gimel. So they have to go and gather. They have to go through the door into their inner man to gather what they need to. That will reveal to them what they need in order to pass through the fish gate.
Yeah.
And the way they pass through the fish gate is becoming the noon. Noon, vav, noon.
Yeah. Mother.
Right?
Yeah.
Two different words for fish, and it totally makes sense when you look at the letters.
The completed fish would be the noon, which would be really, the noon is very, very powerful. It's a very powerful entity, and it really means perpetuity.
Yes, it does.
So
the seed of life.
So this is why
and producing an heir.
Right.
Hence why they can go buy mother bear.
So before the bear here in this picture, if we use this as really just a
teaching point.
Right. Before the bear would be the dag.
Exactly.
After the bear would be the
noon.
Right.
Exactly.
So
and that's why the early believers used the fish symbol, because they understood that they would start as the dag and then become the noon.
Right.
It's amazing.
So this is really Har Megiddo, Armageddon right here. This is what it is. This is the battle within, and I'm glad that we have amazing people on that are with us, and that we can share that. Don't be waiting for the outward battle. Have no fear. Be full of peace right now. Have hope in restoring, because what's coming is going to be amazing. Because this is the stone of the pit is about to be removed, and there will be a crowning on those, because the locusts aren't what we think they are. The crown will be placed, and there will be a freeing out of the pit that we're in right now.
Right. So everything that they're trying to get us to put our attention on the outward Armageddon, right, is all a distraction.
This ties into, yes, absolutely. This ties into thought that we've already shared about the Tav, Vav, Tav, about the two covenants of love. Mother's Tav being joined, connected, and pierced through the Vav in the center that connects the other Vav of Father.
Which is weaving our garments of light.
This is all becoming a completed vessel of intention.
Right.
And this actually even ties into, we'll bring clarity on this, even into Anubis, because these are those that have tread over death. And this is where the noon comes into play, the noon, Vav, the nu, and it's those that have tread over death. And so, and we're going to bring in the jackal-headed entity of why it represents, because we can render it down, we can debone it and extrapolate out again.
I mean, it's interesting that these symbols were meant to be symbols. Yeah. It wasn't like Anubis was walking around with a jackal head.
No.
It was because Egypt taught the sacred languages, and they understood what was in there, so they had to use these as metaphors or symbolic imagery to get people to connect to what was being said about Anubis.
Yeah, he was a teacher, and he would have been teaching how to overstep death in this lesser construct of Sheol, where we're to ask questions and find our resolve that actually produces humility, and because it really is a counter to pride.
Right, because he was trying to also remove the sting of death.
Right, because it was all about building the temple of light.
Exactly, which is the pyramid, which is the toroidal shape.
And that's exactly what this is, and we'll get into why the Pegasus and why the panther in a little bit.
And why the spiral staircase.
Because this is really the face of El, the face of God. This is
our process of becoming that.
Right. This is what's coming out of the pit. This will be a completed one that has been in the pit they produced, and it ties into even Joseph being put into the pit, and it even ties into Enoch. We'll shed some light on this, because the same thing happened in the pit with Joseph as happened to Enoch when he was not.
Exactly.
And so this is all actually ties into everything is everything. So so not is the 0 point construct of nothingness, but really nothingness is just the revealing of the deep that we can't really put words to, because it's beyond our comprehension of
the spoken language of English.
Of articulation.
Right, exactly. Because it's a frequency that is, it's like with the Aleph Tav, they didn't translate the Aleph Tav.
Right.
Because it was so deep, because it was all. Aleph Tav was the encompassing of the entirety of the language of the creation of building love in the construct we live in.
Right.
So how could they translate it?
Right. So that's
because it's so deep.
Except for these ones. This picture here says that these ones, out of their heart, the mouth will speak.
Exactly.
As a man thinketh, so he shall be.
And he creates
this
reality.
Is the deep. Out of their head. Like these ones will be fully illuminated in the revelation, beholding the face of mother and father. These will be completed ones. So these ones are the spring of
the living
waters
that have the all-seeing eye, which is the Ayin.
And this was given to me back in 2008.
Long time ago. Before we even had the understanding of the Hebrew language whatsoever.
Right. And we'll tie in the white horse, and we'll move from this picture, because I need to move through. We're still
still talking about Megiddo.
But this is based off of Pegasus, and we'll tie in why Pegasus as the Samek Vav Samek.
Right.
Because it's the signet ring of mother and father that is connected with the Vav. These are pierced ones. But in the story, Pegasus would have kicked open the hippocampus, or he would have flown up Mount Hippocampus, and we're going to discuss what that is. And then he opened the fountains of the deep with his hoof, with the heel, the back hoof of his
Interesting.
hoof.
When you connect heel and head, you instantly think about what they considered was the transgressions that happened with Adam and Eve.
Well, think even
and the serpent.
You will crush his head.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And the
Nakash, the seraphim.
Right. So this is exactly the same language that's transacting today, but we've deified it in a way that is just something that's been very distant, and it's very, very close to us. And we need to realize this so we can battle correctly.
So we can take it personal.
Take it personal and not be waiting for Armageddon, because it battles every day, and it's embraced by choice and the insights of revelation that allow you to overcome and be victorious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's move. If you want to, we can go into Joshua 12:21, and just take a look at that really quick.
Really quick. That's a good one, Ken.
I know.
There's just always so much in here.
So,
but just cursory glance, just looking at it, I mean, it's not a big verse.
It's not a big verse.
But the fact that we have a chad there twice,
right?
That's big.
One king,
but it's it's unified. It's unification of the brotherhood of the doors.
Right.
You know, those who have become one and unified because they've been instructed, they've tamed themselves, they've been taught, they have the thousandfold anointing, they have life through the covenant.
Yes.
And they are the doors.
Yes.
Meaning that they can come and present to you and knock on the door of your heart to say, I have something that you're spiritually poor in that I can bring revelation to so that you can deliver yourself of your lesser nature.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So what you just shared, so based on the picture that we just shared, that what you just shared is from your fountain. Like
exactly.
The picture, like the words justify, the mouth, because what's coming is the Peresh. It's the head that will speak with the mouth of authority.
That are producing fruit.
Yeah, because they are the fruit.
Yes.
So they would be the first of the first fruits, and out of their overflow, they're going to be speaking the revelation of living waters. And so that's what you've just spoke, living waters.
Yes.
And so we see in this that
well, then we have the other form for witness and testimony right here as well.
Right.
And through the cough, they emptied their cup.
Tanakh.
Yeah. So they emptied their cup so that they could bring and take in the revelation of Father's teaching.
Absolutely. Through Mother's love, really, they filled their cup. And,
exactly.
And we're going to get into this, because this is really what you could define it as the Holy Grail. And because
exactly, because that's what gives you access to the divine feminine, which is Father's teaching.
And the Holy Grail is it's only really like, it just means the cup of the fountain of youth. Right? It's a fountain. It's exactly what we just showed. Coming out of the head is the ayin, that's the all-seeing eye. So this is what it is. This is the fountain of perpetuity. Youth just means perpetuity. So the fountain of perpetuity means you've gone the gash before, found the door, you've resonated to the frequency of Mother Bear, swam beyond her, entered into the fish gate, into the temple, and now you're constructing through the furniture and the resonance of the temple of light.
Right.
And a completed temple will be this. It will be love gushing as a fountain in perpetuity, grasping
the power.
Absolutely. Of Father.
Yeah, but they just have to empty their cup first.
Absolutely.
But that's the whole purpose of Mother.
Right.
I mean, that's what's so beautiful about it. And you did mention Dagesh, which I think is fantastic, because it's dag, fish, with a sheen.
Right.
So it's the fish that have to go through the purifying fires.
Fire and water.
To deal with their beast nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very amazing.
Yeah. And in this, like this word right here, when we go into it says it doesn't have
which one? The
8590.
Okay.
So I went back one and I went forward on one, and if I went back one, it really talks. It's exactly what it makes complete sense. So go back to 8589. And now I know it's not the same word, but it's the exact same spelling. Now it's a completed tav, right? And so then instead of the cough, now it's got a tav added.
But there you go. It talks about the ana again.
Right. Now we're back, and there's only one occurrence of it. So now we have the ana again, going back to the temple of answers, because it says defile,
but it's not.
But it's not.
It's the being humbled through that which is being brought to us, which is the revelation of the Father.
Well, right in the bottom it says through affliction, right? The affliction of self, right?
Right. And then taking it back, there we have the testifying, the witness, and the testimony again to answer and respond.
Right. So
really, the whole reason for the affliction is so that we would ask questions.
Right.
Which is the whole purpose of Sheol, living in hell.
Right. And then we have Megiddo, which now... And so this is the one occurrence of Megiddo. This is really all it is. But
so this is the only occurrence in the Old Testament.
In the Old Testament, right.
Sure.
And so we can extrapolate out on this. But
right, and again, we were right there.
But the original word...
There's more. You said only one occurrence. Because there's actually...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean...
It's interesting. Yeah. There's 12
occurrences. I'm sorry, 12 occurrences. Yes.
Very interesting, because that's a significant number, because that means perfection of government.
Right.
And then tying it to the 12 tribes.
Right.
Perfection of judgment, the 12 stones on the ephod.
Right. I wanted to...
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm looking at one on my screen on the next word.
Oh, so. I get it. You were looking at a cod.
Yes, I was looking at a cod.
I totally get it. Okay.
So, but this first occurrence, I just wanted to extrapolate out a little bit further on it. That I want to go into the next verse of this, because really there's a piercing on this, and this
verse 12:22.
This 4023 doesn't have a noon on it.
In Joshua 12:21?
Right.
So, yeah, well, that is quite significant, Because without the noon, you know that it has nothing to do with the flesh, and it's all spiritual. It's all spiritual here.
So just like we were just saying that that
the spiritual battle,
just beyond Mother's Gate,
right?
We're swimming in the spirit right now,
right?
So we've moved beyond the gate. Now we're dimensionally swimming upstream and creating the temple spiritually. Is
going to the upper waters instead of the lower waters.
So this is again connected to the piercing that produces.
Yes.
So it can either be said two ways: either the piercing in the flesh, that you need to pierce yourself right in the journey of life, that's added, or vice versa, that you've already pierced yourself and this is now a spiritual issue.
Well, and you can even connect that to piercing yourself in a procreation sense in the spirit.
Right.
The spirit implementation or implanting of the noon, the seed of life within your heart. Right?
Absolutely.
So not the flesh fornication, but the spirit multiplication that happens.
Absolutely.
To produce new life.
Absolutely. So let's go into the next. Because I need to.
So we go into 22.
Go to 12. 22? Yeah, go to 12:22. First of all, it's 22:2, and it's interesting. Of course. But I already had this coming up, so I thought, well, this is kind of interesting how it already led to it already.
Okay.
So because I want to talk. We're going to talk about consecration.
Okay.
And so it's already in this verse, and I already had it set up on my file, and I thought, like, even when I set this up, I said, well, this is really interesting because these are the Kadosh, right?
Right.
These are the set
So the Kadesh, that's the root word for Kadosh, meaning holy.
Holy, right.
Yeah.
So because it's still running down the list, the king, the king, the king.
Oh, yeah.
The king of one, the king of one, right? This is
this is a consecrated king. This isn't a king of righteousness. This is a holy king.
Well, we're going to see where this verse ends up, but this is the progression of becoming one king. And so we're ingathering crowns as we're going down here.
Which is just frequencies that are changing within us as we go through our gathering.
Absolutely. We're just gathering, just frequencies. No one's getting a crown, but we're gathering the resonance that allows us to sing the song of life. And so we have this king. So now we have sanctuary Kodesh.
Yeah.
And we know that roots out at 6942, a sanctum. First occurrence is in this, Joshua 12:22.
A sanctum, yeah.
So there's got to be another occurrence of that in here, and there is. But so I just wanted to run through this. We can go through it real quick. So we have a set apart.
What, the first occurrence of it? Or no, just to track it down to its root?
Yeah, we're just going to run down through it. So we're just going to know that, so we can go to the 6942, to be set apart or consecrated.
Yes.
To pronounce, observe, to be clean ceremonially or morally.
Right. Yep. Well, and you know what I love about that too? To be. Haya.
And
right? The Hebrew word haya, to be, to become, the part of ahaya, asher ahaya, I am that I am. It's to be.
Absolutely.
It's to be.
To be, yeah. Yep.
And then you finish it to be what? So I am ahaya. Through this, I am clean.
Right. And this is the whole, you cannot ascend the mountain, Mother's Mountain, without pureness and innocence. This is what it's all about.
Pure hands and a clean heart.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's the compression of light by going through the door of the inward man where the consuming fire cleans you.
There is another.
Purifies you.
And then we can look at even on that, there's another one on that 6942 at the bottom of that one. There still is.
6944?
Well, there is. Yeah, we already were at 6944.
The set apartness and sacredness?
Right. And so I'm just trying to build like what these are, because these are the crown ones. These are what's being crowned at Armageddon. When the stone gets removed, this is based off of, I'm just pre-priming the pump, because when the stone gets removed, what's going to happen is there's going to be a crowning for the consecrated.
Yes.
For the set apart ones.
Right.
This is what's coming out of the pit.
Right.
This is the crowning that the world calls them the locust, but these ones have been consuming much in the time of the dark.
Grabbing by fistfuls.
Fistfuls and feeding themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm just building the case for that, and we can continue down this verse if we want to. I know that at 6944, the first occurrence is in Genesis 2:3. It's talking about the seventh day.
Okay. Yeah, because there it is right there.
So there's the first occurrence of it. And then the next one is talking about the firstborn.
And then that's interesting because it's all of Tav Vav right after the end of it.
Right.
So through the sacred languages, the first and the last, connecting to Father and filling you up, the whole purpose is to make you overflow,
right,
completed, resting on the seventh day, now as being holy.
Absolutely.
Set apart.
And then even the next one we're seeing it, sanctify me every firstborn.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Right. That's big. Because it's the teachers of light that have been given the power, and they've completed in their whole. Right.
So let's go back out and we'll just roll through this verse very quick, just because that's really all I wanted to show was because we're coming up on that. But let's just go back and we have one again. So we have Akkad, and then we have a king. We have Melech with a conjunctive dash.
Yeah, connected to Yakinom.
Yakinom. And it's a people. It's Kum 6969.
Let me trace it down. Okay. The people will be lamented. Huh. To strike a musical note, a chant or a wail.
But out of the deep comes the groan and the wail.
Right, right. And that's from Kana. Elegy or dirge.
But again, we're not comprehending what the dirge is actually. It's the journey from the 6 to the 9. I even find it amazing that this 6969 verse is this what it is, right?
Right.
It's going from death to life, and it's going to be a praise and a song,
right?
Because you've gone from the journey of inverting the nature of 6, completing it as a 9 in anticipation of the 1,
right?
And that's what's happening right here. And so,
well, and then that first occurrence in 2 Samuel with David, right? It was brought forth a risen noon and a fallen noon. So it's showing right there that there's a wrestle between the spiritual path and the material.
Yep.
That would cause a lament, wrestling it through the Aleph Tav.
Yep.
Because you see the spiritual nature, but yet you're tied to a flesh suit.
Right.
Of a lower density and a lower narrative that has the beast ego attached to it.
Right.
And trying to figure out how to get rid of it.
So go back to the 3362, and this is based off the verse, this Joachim. And then there's the people. Go into the please. And it should be at 5971.
Yeah.
Okay, then go into so we have a congregation and a unit or a tribe, and those of Israel.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we can go into that, go into 5971, go into A and then to B. So we can just get a fuller picture of what these are. So we still have
the people.
A people, and then go into B real quick.
Kinsman.
Okay, I just want to see that. Okay, now we can go back out, and we know that we've already gone into the dark, into the dim, and the chant. Okay.
You're right, the dirge.
The dirge. Okay.
Right.
And so let's go to the next word real quick. And then we're going into Carmel.
Oops.
Hold,
please.
Yeah.
I hit the wrong button.
Oh.
I was like, where am I going?
Where am I going? So we're going into 3760, and you're going into Carmel.
Okay.
So these are a people that are chanting and wailing that they like there is a wrestle going on. They're wrestling the 6 to the 9. Okay. And now we're going into Carmel, and in this word we're seeing now a hill and a town, right? And then even its own root is fruitful and plentiful.
Right, I saw that, fruitful and plentiful field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So go into the Carmel. It should be 3759.
Yep.
A plantation, a garden, land, fruit, garden growth.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can go into the 3754.
Vineyard.
The garden, the orchard, the vineyard. Full green ears, right? Fruitful, field, plentiful. This is the house. So now you can go even, and then you can go into the 3754, which would be, well, you can go there too if you want to. That's fine. That's there too. So this is the vineyard place. This is now the house. You are now in the vineyard place.
Right. The house, the temple of the vineyard.
The temple of the vineyard.
Really, that's what it's saying.
Right.
And so really, we need to chase it back one more. So Karem. So the vineyard.
The vineyard.
The garden.
The garden.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is what's so fascinating on this. And I knew it was going to head there, and I was just waiting because I'm trying to not be a racehorse. I'm trying to just let it unfold. Is that Karem, Kaf Resh Mem, is the vineyard, is the garden. But in this, when you look at it, there's a lamed in front and a lamed in the backside. So when you were talking about the two lameds, it's right here.
It's right, yeah.
So the fruitful vineyard, the garden of light.
Yes.
The two lameds.
Yes. These ones will, whoever these are, this is a frequency.
And this is huge to see it on the suffix side. Yeah. That is such a rarity to have a teacher of light that is of Father. Like, the teacher of Mother is actually easy to come by because there's lots of people that share about the Paleo Hebrew and the surface. But to have a teacher of light that can come and present the esoteric side, the deep water that is underneath, the sod level, the mysterious, the mystic path, they're few and far between that can be found. And it's right here.
Right. Yeah, these lameds
these lameds. I mean, that is a big deal. And then, in even looking at the word prior, the reason why they were able to do this is they were given a vision, and they compressed the light in the circle of time, found the narrow path between the light and dark. Through the spiritual journey that they had to wrestle in the material world, they were given the eyes to see this, the deep, and now they're in the completed waters set above as one who has been completed through Father.
Absolutely.
Wow. And then the last word, one. They've become one.
Right. Right. And there's so we're not going to go any sideways because I would like to go into the usage of Carmel, but we're not going to for the sake. So it's already a lot. I just wanted to see these are the consecrated ones that are going to enter back into the garden as twin light bearers.
And they're the new wine. Right. Right? Because it's the vineyard of the garden.
Right. So let's go back to.
Ooh, that made me a little loopy right there.
So we were talking about Armageddon because we still got to get through this. So we were at Megiddo. So go back to where are you back to? 4023?
I was just at 1221. I went back to Joshua 1221. Okay. So if you want me to go into 4023 there.
Yeah, we can go back from that right now.
Megiddo, okay?
Yeah, we can go back to Megiddo.
Yep, I'm there.
And so we can see that you've already gone into we already know that it means the mountain of forgetting. So just to recap, so Mother teaches us the remembering journey while in the plains of life. This is the wilderness journey. And her gentle ascension acclimates us for the higher perspective. So by incrementally ingathering, we are prepared with the inclinational steps of humility's resolve. This is the mountain journey.
Right.
So this is sovereignty's preemptive work that reveals the condition of our heart.
Right.
So sovereignty may stand, right? We're taught how to humbly bow our head because what's coming next is the comprehension of reverence to enter Father's chamber of meekness. So that's really what's going on. It's just to recap.
Right.
And so this is Armageddon again. Okay. So let's go to the root of what Megiddo was showing us, and it was I think 1431. So let's go into the 1431 of the tower. Let's see what this tower is.
Is that with Gadad or the Abdon?
It's going to be Gadal to grow up 1431. We can go year. Let's go year. Wait, where are you? They should all be there. If you're in 4023.
I was, and then it was saying that it came from Gadad.
Okay, that's
which
fine.
Is to penetrate and cut.
I just went in so people don't confuse. I simply went in from 4023 Migdal, the tower that's from 4023. So it's okay. We're going to do them all anyway because they all need to be seen. So wherever you want to go, so you can go into A. So we don't confuse people. And then let's do this one first.
Gadol. Okay.
There. Okay.
Yes. To grow up and to be great.
So that's exactly what Mother's doing.
Right.
Megiddo is based off of maturity, becoming great. Her whole purpose is to ready us for what's coming.
Well,
right?
and the Gimel Dalet is here. So we had Migdon before.
Right.
Same Gimel Dalet, right? Because that was in the word itself. Now with the Lamed added on the suffix side.
Right.
So in other words, the teaching shepherd of light on the father side is what is meant to make you great and to grow you up.
And we're going to break down
up and out of the beast ego.
And we're going to break down what the Gimel means, because really this word is really defining what the Gimel is by its own definition. Gimel means to be weaned and to be ripened,
right,
and to be matured. So this
and it also means gathering, gam,
right.
and assembling.
But so you're gathering the pieces
to assemble yourself.
Right. And even let's look at the first occurrence at 12:2, right? No, don't go into it.
No, I'm not going to. Just there's great, there's Gadol right there.
Right. But even in the
blessings.
So we have the Vav, Aleph.
Right.
And then the Tav on the prefix. So the piercing of one, right? Becoming great, because this is the blessing, right? You're pierced as one,
right?
Becoming great, right? Through the revelation or through the revealing.
Right.
And this
then again, we have Shem again, those who have emptied out their cup to grasp a hold of the power of the language.
Right.
And then Haya, to be, to make, or to become.
Right.
To come to pass. That's awesome.
Right. So we have to extrapolate this out again. So let's go back to the 1431, and it's got a root, so we can take it to 1434. Okay, so you're back in. So let's go to your.
So twisted threads.
Right, which is from 1431. So if you want to connect it, you can. But we just came from that. It means to grow up and to become great. And this is really talking about, it's actually the same spelling, the Gimel, Dalet, Lamed. So it's saying to be growing up, right? Wind together yourself, right? Twist yourself together, because everything's an inward reality. There's no outward manifestation of adornment. That's a lesser. Everything is about the inward, as we know that.
Well, and it's important to even look at the issues as becoming great in body, mind, estate, and order. And so this is body, mind, and estate. This is connected to shalom.
Right.
To be safe in mind, body, and estate.
So if you want to connect out, and we can see
great and safe.
That's in Strong 7999, and that's exactly, we don't need to go there, but that's shalom.
Yeah.
And it ties back to the picture we just showed about wind the two together, twist mother and father together to become one stick.
Right.
It's that whole language of what's transacting.
Right.
Only two occurrences of this. Okay, so we can go back out, or you can just jump. We're going to go to, which I think is really interesting because it's 1413. So, and that is from, I know there's lots of jumping here. I apologize. But that's from the original word of Megiddo, from Gadad, 1413, which really means to pierce. We're going to go through
penetrate and cut, yep.
Right. And so there's 8 occurrences of that. And if we look at the first occurrence, why 2 added toss?
Right. We were just talking about that.
I'm not sure what we were discussing about the twin on the front, but this would definitely be mother and father.
Oh, yes, I know. Because on the front side, it's body.
Oh, right.
Body and soul.
Right. This ties into, okay, now I see what you're
right, because this is body and soul has to deal with the lesser densities of where we are in this material realm.
This is based off the triple overpass.
Right. And so the triple tav, because we have to have our connection, a marked difference in body, soul, and spirit as triune beings.
Right.
And so these first 2 is what Mother's really dealing with.
Right.
She's dealing with us in the body and the soul aspect of the lower realm.
Yes.
To connect us to the higher realm of spirit of Father.
Yes.
Hence why these are 2 on the front side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at the way they teach the mystics, because they teach the mystics through, like, even the Kabbalah system, one of the very first things that they do is they start introducing taking care of the body. Nutrition is huge because you have to raise up your vibrational level. You can't expect to see this by eating, like Ken said, McDonald's all the time, because you become a McDonald's bag.
Right.
And you're not going to be able to receive higher revelation with a low frequency.
So I need to remind people because what happens is a tendency is we start talking about this and we lose track of what we're talking about, because we're talking about a topic now, but we are still talking about the Battle of Armageddon.
But this is part of that.
That's why I'm bringing it back around.
Spirit.
Right. That it's based on penetration and cutting of removal. You want to call it dead wood, it's dead wood. You want to call it a stripping bear, it's a stripping bear.
Just call yourself a pruning process.
Right. So so this ties into another file based on the triple valves, and that's very crucial. And what I'm seeing is that the Spirit sharing with me is that there's 12 stones, but only 9 can be achieved here. This ties right back into
So the first mention of the King of Tyre, there is only 9 stones on the breastplate.
Right. Each of these taws contributes to 3 stones.
3 rows of the 3 stones?
No, 3 stones. The last will be given after, outside of this dimension, the 4th row. 9. So it'll be these.
Right. So the vav is with there's 3 rows of 3 stones each. So 1 vav with 1 row.
Yeah.
A second vav of the second row. Third vav, third row.
And another set is waiting. So this would equate to 6. This is the journey of 6, which is the body, soul, spirit. Right.
Right. 666.
Right.
Right.
So this is what we're dealing with right here.
So this is body and soul, and it's connected to the Elohecha, or Elohekam, which is the processes of us becoming. Right. Through the power, the 2 powers of grasping and receiving the language, so that you can become completed. As El.
Yeah. So these vibes are very, very.
Our school of divinity.
Right.
To have the revelation that's necessary.
So we're piercing ourselves within. Through these twin tovs, and this is how we're twisting our threads. We're twisting up dynamic of body and soul.
And so really, when they're saying don't cut, that's not correct. It's the instruction that's coming.
Right.
In the oneness, the law of one, that is going to produce the fruit of the meekness.
Right. Yep. It's this. These
connecting to Father.
This is the teachings that go and point and direct you to become the way of one, and it's going to be. There's going to be some severing in this. There's going to be some cutting in this.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Pruning. The process of pruning.
And that roots out to There's more on this. In Megiddo, it's all about the Gad. It's all about the Gimel. This whole mountain is about the Gimel, and we're going to render it down because the Gimel is all about weaning and ripening and maturing, so immature sovereigns would comprehend a mature sovereign concept.
A sovereign stand.
Right. And so this is what Megiddo is all about. This is the mountain of mother. This is the battle of Armageddon within you. It's a wrestle in your heart.
So the resolve is becoming a sovereign. It's the wrestle of becoming a sovereign over yourself.
There's no crossing over into Father unless there's a comprehension of sovereignty. Again, there will be works, but we're talking about the first of the first fruits here.
Right.
So these ones would be judging based on self-adjudication of becoming the completed works of intention.
Right.
All right. So we can go to 1464, which still ties into the good, which is still tethered to the breakdown of all the occurrences.
Right. And so again, the reason why they are connecting Armageddon to a battle is because of this.
Right.
But if we don't realize that everything that is written is for us on our internal manifestation and becoming, you then project it out as an external.
Right.
And you will never change, and it will keep you in fear.
Right.
That's why they want us to stay on the outward manifestation. Oh, it's this big battle, so that you never look. It's like, again, don't pay attention. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's what's happening on the inside that's attacking you.
But again, it's such high level deception that if we're distracted, then we're not doing the work necessary. And then because remember, this is still based off of the amygdala, because this ties directly to the amygdala and the hippocampus. And so we're going to go into this verse right
Okay, I was just looking at that going, whoa, that's a little excessive there.
There's only 3 occurrences. Well, yeah, this I would call this the Gad verse.
Yeah, you think?
There's only, I think, 2 words in this that aren't Gad.
That's actually quite hilarious.
But because it's the next verse, there's only 3 occurrences, and these 2 first occurrences
are the same verse. Right.
So,
but then when you look at the resolve, though, it's those who will rise.
That exactly these right.
And there's your new.
Right.
There's the noon vav that you were when we were talking about the fish, about how important the noon is, and the noon vav connecting with the Anubis that you're going to go into.
We're going to go into that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a big deal.
So this is based off of actually. We're in 1464. So this is an invasion and an attack. But before we go there, we're invading ourselves. We're attacking ourselves. We're at battle with the spiritual.
We're in battle within.
Right, battle within. So so before we get there, though, we need to.
But it's important, I think, that we make this point, is that there's many people that say that there's the battle. There's a battle going on right now, but they're not pointing it in the right direction. Right? There's a war in heaven. Right? That's what they're saying. It's a war in heaven against angels and demons.
Mm-hmm.
So they're putting it out as an external manifestation when it's really the internal manifestation.
Yes.
Within as within, so without.
Absolutely.
So, but if they keep focusing it outwardly, it's just an outward projection of the inward dealings that they are projecting outwardly. So it's like, stop projecting it on the outside and deal with the battle that's within.
That's our point. That's what I'm trying to tell people, is like we can remove all fear, just like walking away from it. Just say, wow, it's just like if you realize what the game truly is, then you can focus on what is necessary to become.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's very simple. Do not worry about people projecting on you. Stop it. I mean, to the best of your ability, do what you need to do to find the resolve. If they still project, and it's not your problem. Move on, continue, because there's a lot of the proverbial crabs in the bucket that want to pull us back down and not ascend into the revelation of the greater. And the world is all about distraction. It blings all day long and all night long. And we need to be about Father's business in the dark time hours, extracting out the revelation of truth so we can become the measures of intention.
Right, the twin lameds.
The twin lameds, which is
the 2 lights.
And that we'll probably get to that in a couple more teachings, but
the lesser light and the greater.
Right. But before we go into that verse right there, I wanted to go into, because we're in, you're in to penetrate, right? So we're into 1413, and you're into 1464.
Mm-hmm. We went down to I tracked it. We went from the piercing to penetrating to now evade and attack.
Okay. Well, from good, there's also Gad at 1409, and there's only 2 occurrences of it, and so it's interesting. But we're going so we can know without going. You just stay where you are, but it's tied to 1409. So let's go into these 2 verses because it directly presents itself. We'll see it.
Okay.
So we can see Gad.
Right.
Gad. Right. Gad. Really.
It's all over the place. Right. I mean, that's why I was laughing when I saw it. I was like, oh my gosh, Gad is everywhere. And so Gad, again, so people, if they don't know, is one of the sons of Jacob, of Israel.
Right. So anyways, I just wanted to point this out, that because we're going into what it is, because this goes into 1409, but this is going to be the treasure that was in Revelation. These are who they are. And so that we can go into this verse and we can see like what's really, like, these ones have produced.
Right. And it's interesting, though, because Gad in of itself, if you just go in just to Gad, it means a troop.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's
1410. And then 1409 really is going into some deeper revelation that he's really a treasure.
That's it. There we go.
Right.
That's it.
So there's the good fortune.
Yep, the good fortune and a troop. I mean, it's both. So it's a troop, but
But this ties into what's coming. This is exactly what's coming out of the pit. This is the good fortune that's coming out of the pit. And we can tie it back because it goes right back to it. So it ties it in. So we're not going anywhere. We can tie it right back into where you've just come from.
Exactly.
So now we can connect that together.
Right.
But this is what's coming. These will be Joel's army. This is what's coming out. Crowned, that they will be moving about the earth. These are the troops. They've gathered themselves through the process of ascension through Armageddon, and then when the stone is removed, because that's what's coming off of the head.
So really what we're doing is we're talking about the distribution of wealth.
Yes.
Spiritually wealth.
Yes.
And so there's people right now that are focusing on the external, that the distribution of wealth is monetary in the physical.
I have no
And
use
so they're
for
going to miss it.
Right.
They're totally going to miss it because that is all based on materialism.
The game is vast and broad.
Wow,
and
that's a big deal.
I'm not focused on anything. There's nothing in the material that I want. Everything that I'm acquiring.
But that makes sense why they would come forth with the Nessera and the Gesera and all of that, because again, it's a distraction in the earth realm to get us off of what the transference wealth is.
Right.
It's our spiritual inheritance.
Right. So we can peruse that really quick, but I mean, there's just to show that
I don't know how much we need to. It's just because, again, other than the fact that shall triumph at last.
Right. But I do want you to go into because Isaiah speaks volumes. So go back to 1409 if you don't mind, because then I want you to lead into Revelation.
Sure.
So go into 1409 for me.
Yeah.
And let's go into Isaiah 65:11 real quick. Because this is the good fortune. But you.
Right. Otam. Weatam.
Weatam.
The twin covenants of one.
Right. But this word for forsake, it's really, if you go into it, those who forsake self.
Oh, this is a base self, right?
Right. So we're looking at, there's a dynamic going on here of loosening.
Well, and that would make sense because you're loosening of self. You're loosening yourself from the attachment of the ego.
Right. You're relinquishing. So this is what's going on here. But you, then if we can read it correctly through the verse of what's really going on, for you, Otam.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Have forsaken self for Yahweh. So, but not Yahweh in the negative. We're looking at through the power, means, and directions of the revelation of Mother, you have found the piercing of sovereign standing, the revelation of Father.
Exactly, because this is a teaching pattern.
This is a teaching pattern.
I don't care about the history.
No.
We're not talking about history. We're not talking about any other writings. We're talking about the language.
That's the difficulty of cross. But again, what we are doing is we are mixing, and it's all through this, and it's even in this verse of we're mixing Mother and Father, the water and the wine together.
Right.
Right. Father's latter wine and Mother's water is exactly what we're doing, but then we're extrapolating it out to say, let's go for the wine.
Right, because we're turning water into wine.
We're turning water into wine. It's exactly what we're doing.
Exactly.
So this is because
that interesting of talking about the two witnesses, because it's one of the things that they do.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they turn water into wine, but people are thinking that it's going to be a physical manifestation when it's really...
Well, for anyone that knows me, what I just said was 100% spirit.
Oh, I know, 100%.
Because I can already see it in here because it's synonymous within this language of where we're going in Har Megiddo, that they are mixing flour and water to make bread.
Exactly.
And so they are mixing water, but they're revealing the ingredients of mixing Mother and Father. What we're doing right now, we're speaking Mother and Father, and then we're extrapolating out. And sometimes we stretch the dough and we can see a bit more Father, and then we roll it again and we extrapolate out the right hand and we go like, here's Mother.
Right.
And we roll the dough and we pull it this way.
Right.
Here's Father. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're kneading bread. So we can see that these things, but look at the next word. Now they forgot, right? But that's out of sent.
Shakak, to forget.
Mm-hmm. So now this is how they healed themselves. So they forsook themselves. They found Mother and Father. They found the revelation of forgetting. But
how interesting about being oblivious to it.
Right.
Like not having any idea that this is here.
Right. from want of memory or attention, right? Yeah. But if you go into the original word, it has an hey on the prefix. So through the revelation, they found the forgetting. In the occurrence of the verse.
Okay. So the way it was written. Okay.
In Isaiah 65:11.
Yeah.
So because they found, so hey, you that forsook self, finding the vision of mother through her revelation.
Well, because you totally didn't even know it was there. Right. So she's bringing it to you.
She's bringing it to you. She's bringing exactly what we're doing. So now.
Because you were oblivious of it.
You brought forward the revelation of forgetting the Olive Tav. It's not you forgot the Olive Tav. Through the Olive Tav, you remembered. This is the revelation. The hay is connected to the Olive Tav.
Right.
This is how we remember.
Because you were oblivious to the language.
What are we remembering? We're remembering the forgetting.
Right, because we didn't know that we forgot. I know they point to each other.
They point to one another, going totally like, "Hey, you that forsook yourself in the journey of becoming, through the Yod He, through the template of Yod He Vav He."
Yeah, right.
You were shown the revelation of forgetting,
right?
Which is the Olive Tav connected to the holy mountain.
Because your forgetting is what consumed you.
Exactly.
Like you were so consumed of not knowing why you were here.
But it's important that people see, because this is now I'm pulling Father's side out here.
Right.
That is saying like, hey, okay, this is the template showing you the revelation of mother.
Because you were oblivious to grasping a hold of the power in the language that would bring forth life through the covenant.
Right.
And you were oblivious that there was power to be given to you through the Father so you could complete your water journey.
Definition,
right?
Innocence.
Right.
You were innocence to it all, and you found it through the revelation of becoming. Now we're going into, right?
So then it's the Olive Tav mountain.
The mountain holy.
The holy mountain.
And now who are these? I said, now we're going into now to the holy who prepare. This is now the Gad.
Right, and now it's got the Lamed in
now
front.
You're a Lamed in front of this, right? So now you're a Lamed. So we got one Lamed in here. And so now this is the holy mountain.
And this is interesting too, because you look at it, that it even talks about preparing and ordaining.
Right. So
and to set forth as a legal case.
Right. This is now, you've now become an adjudicated one through self-adjudication.
A judge.
You've now become a judge. And this is why you're covered in sackcloth and ashes. Because it is the garments of black that will be administering, it'll be right appropriation of adjudication through the merciful acts of comprehension. It's not going to be a heavy thing, but it will be a heavy thing because it's coming in the full weight of the deep.
Well, and the reason why it comes in the full weight is if you're completely oblivious to this and then it's presented to you, it's going to feel like a really heavy load. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Which is why the revealing is so important, because to open people's eyes to see that there's a different path that's been tried to present itself to you, but you've been so distracted.
Right.
And so the preparing, it already tells you to prepare, you need to receive the revelation of mother.
Yeah, you need to put things in order. Right in its own definition.
Put it in order.
You need to put things in order.
And how do you do that? You got to be able to see it.
Yeah.
To raise yourself up from being poor and destitute by grasping the power within the language, filling your cup, which is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
From the power that comes from Father, his means and directions, so you can once again be sealed in the waters above.
Right.
That's what our preparation is all about.
Yep. So this is now, because we got to move through this. So now this is now the light of good fortune. This is now This is now
transference of wealth.
This is now transmutation of wealth, but in the spiritual form. This is now a light bearer who brings as this is the staff of authority that now comes as the good fortune, and that's
exactly.
So this is the good fortune. And so now the next word, we can go 7979.
The Shulchan.
Right. This is now a table of preparation.
And it says of a king's table.
Right. So I know in the Christian narrative, we talk about, a feast will be put out.
The banqueting
table. So this is something that's put out.
But this would be for the wedding.
This is the wedding. this is that these ones are already wed. This is, you've become furnished. You become, right? The offering. And so.
And then this one, Shalach. This is those who are sent out.
Those who are sent out.
The one in which we would know, translated, and they've used that word as apostle.
Right. These ones are fully consumed as in the teachings, right? And they're now coming.
And they are of the life.
They are set apart ones. And we've already talked about, and we're going to go into a little further if we can get to it. We were talking about the consecration. Het is separation for consecration.
And it's also the sacred representation and the mystical aspect of life, because it's Kai. It's het yod with a tav.
Right. And
the life of the covenant.
Right. And
or the covenant that brings forth life.
Right.
Is saying it another
way.
way.
A lot of information here. I apologize, but I don't apologize.
Oh, well, I'm going to break it up in pieces.
So let's go to the next word then, because we're going down.
The furnish.
So now we're into the furnish.
Yeah.
And now this is really just.
Oh, it's mala.
Mala, but look at the spelling, right?
Right.
So now we have.
Be filled up.
So now the original root is mem lamed aleph, but now we have vav hey, mem lamed aleph yod mem.
So really, with the root mala, it's filling up with water, because it's mayim, mem yod mem. The water of mother and the water of father, you're filled up.
Or yes, and I would say that you are filled up through the water of mother. You are now the latter wine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so now we have one occurrence, mini, with the lamed.
Fate or fortune. An award.
Right. So now you have. They say that heathen God. I don't even know why, but this is.
I don't even know why they would do that either.
So then you have. This is now.
But again, I can see why it is, because they're always trying to get people to be distracted with something, to not look at it.
No.
Oh, it's an idol. Don't touch it. You're going to go to hell, or you're on the wrong path. Don't even look at it. It's going to make you walk.
Yeah. No, it's really funny. It's interesting. I'll share this. I was going to keep this to myself, but I'll share it just because it doesn't really bother me. Now, as I was extracting this out, I haven't listened to secular music for, I don't even know how long, 20 years plus. And as I'm extracting this out, this tune comes into my head back from the 80s, and it says, it's talking about, here's this AC/DC song that comes back into my head. It's going like, stand up for what you're about to receive. It's the old AC/DC song that is like, for those of you, right? And it's talking about this old song, but I'm going like, wow, but there's a negative side of it. Then again, the negative is the negative, and it's keeping us away from the truth. But they are well versed in knowing what's about to be released and what's about to be deceived. So stand up and be counted for what you're about to receive, is the lyric to the song in AC/DC.
Well, right here.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is now in the positive narrative. I'm going like, wow. So stand up and be counted for what you're about to receive.
Well, and how interesting is this? It's manna, right? Mm-hmm. So manna, as translated, or the way it's originally written as that which came down from heaven, is just mem nun. But this is mem nun hey.
Right.
So
you're about
having saying that, they were eating of a lesser manna because it was a fallen noon.
Right.
They were gathering that in the wilderness that was in the lower density.
Yeah.
Where this is manna, spiritual path that brings revelation.
Right. And so just to be clear, so I don't listen to AC/DC. I don't know why that came to me. I'm like, oh my goodness. But again, so I'm just want to make
it's
sure
from your past.
It's from my past. But yeah, so this is where we're going, because this is the manna. This is the end time revelation. This is the back hay of the vav hay from the yod hay. This is the Father's revelation.
Exactly.
That will be revealed, because we're going into that right now about the apocalypse.
Right.
And this is where we're coming next.
So right here is ma with a noon on the inside.
Risen.
What is it? Right? Mem hey, because that's actually the root of manna.
Right.
What is it?
Right.
And it's the spiritual journey that you take within.
You could also say in this that back to the picture, what we showed is that mother raises you into perpetuity, so you would comprehend the deeper waters of Father's revelation.
Right. So mother, yes. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Spiritual path of his revelation, the deeper water.
So stand in the deeper revelation so you can be counted as one. Because you've already turned the nature of the 6 to the 9. Stand up and be counted, and I will count you as one.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now
then that first occurrence, it's Vav Tav. Lamed, Vav Tav.
Right.
You know, because you've connected to the revelation now in meekness, you're marked in the covenant of Father's covenant of unconditional love through the Aleph Tav.
There's the new.
And yes, there's the new, but it's also the Ein Peresh, the fountain.
Yep. Of the mouth that speaks from the head, or the mountain. Out of the mouth comes the living waters of the top.
Yeah.
Right.
as a first fruit.
And that's a headstone. So
Right.
out of the fountain of the mouth comes the revelation of the headstone.
Yep. To the Ishman.
To the Ishman, to the
farmer.
farmer.
And it has a diamond on top, quadration, gift from God.
Yep. So let's go to the last word in this, and then we can, because we got it. I need to get to Apocalypse, and this is why I could see that the mixing, because this 4469, you become a drink offering, and it's really interesting, right? So now you're a mixed drink.
Oh yeah, but it also has
Samek.
Has sack.
Right. Absolutely. And if we
sackcloth
want, that is the root of how you spell sackcloth, right? And so now you're completed. You're completely mixed, but yet it's not a bad mixing.
Well, no, because it's the mixing of the two mems.
Right.
Right. So this is the pattern of the cherubim on the top of the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to be a representation of the two mems that are facing.
So go to the root though, because this is so now you become a drink offering and mix, and if we take it to the root, these now are condensed as one, right? So it's producing. Now you are, right?
Right.
Which is still, the mem is still there.
Right. The mem and the mem sophie, because of the constituent letters that make up the symbol. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then what is it doing? It's providing the wedding ring or the signet ring. Mm-hmm. You're hedged in, supported, propped up, because you've emptied your cup.
Absolutely.
To grasp a hold of the power of the language, because it's kof pei.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Wine with spices.
Yep.
That's mulled wine.
It is, and every time you look at spices too, it usually goes to sam, which means sweet. It's usually the spices are sweet, and it's usually a samek mem.
Of course it would be the sweet waters.
The sweet waters, right.
Sweet wine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back. We got to get back on track here. So we know that Gad is the good fortune. Now, did you want to go into the Revelation to show it to the Peshitta, please?
Yeah.
And that would be because people need to connect. Why are we bringing up Gad so much? Because all we're doing, what we've just done to recount
what we've been talking about, it was all about Armageddon.
It's all about the mountain of mother of Armageddon. And so now, and it roots down at really the good fortune of ascending what this mountain is, of the internal wrestle within that produces the measure. So now let's look at a revelation that connects to Gad about Armageddon.
So they gathered them to a place which is called in Hebrew Armageddon, right. Which I think is so funny because it's Megiddo. Megiddo. Mm-hmm. There's no Armageddon, and there's not even a noon on it.
Right.
So they
purposely obfuscated.
They purposely, because since there's no noon on the end of this, it means this is a spiritual battle.
Right.
There is no flesh involved at all.
Right.
And it's a spiritual battle because this word right here, meaning to gather, mm-hmm. has the vav noon added on the front of it. So it's connecting to mother in humility and teachability by taking her spiritual path.
Right.
Which starts it. And that's a big deal.
Yep.
And so the starting of it is grasping a hold of the power in the language, which is the spiritual journey that will refine you through fire.
Absolutely.
And those are the ones that are being gathered.
Right. Yeah, not everyone's being gathered right now.
No. This is the gathering.
There's a gathering of the few before the many, and this is what's going on right now.
As those who are wanting to be teachable,
right.
To take that spiritual path,
right?
And so then this next word where they translated as they, mm-hmm. Originally it's a hey vav, revelation that you've connected to. The only thing that's remaining in that is the vav.
Vav.
That's it.
Yeah.
So this is the revelation of the connecting, which makes you one.
Right.
As the fish, the noon,
right.
that are now swimming upstream past mother.
Right. This is all
become one with her mother.
This is all based on perpetuity.
Yes. And so they had the seed of life that was implanted within them. They were pierced by it,
yep.
spiritually
yep.
pierced to
mm-hmm.
produce life, spiritual life,
mm-hmm.
in creating an heirship in perpetuity.
Yep.
Like that's so fascinating.
Yep.
Because they took the spiritual path that was actually connected to the material, in the material world.
Yes.
Then we have the next word, a place. But I love this because it's the place of the Aleph Tav that races you up from poor and destitute to become one.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the teachers of light.
The teachers of light are pointing
there.
and goading and directing through the Aleph Tav, right?
And there.
Showing you how to raise your nature to become one as they are one.
Exactly. And then called. So this is the place where they're being gathered to the teachings of the letters, the languages, to raise them up so they can become one.
And this is going on right now.
Exactly.
This is the Battle of Armageddon, right? This is what we're talking about. Is Armageddon is happening right now.
And so really what's going on is that people that are like coming to our channel, they're in Armageddon because they are in the wrestle with the things that they've been indoctrinated with, like all the dogmas, and they're having to wrestle it on the inside.
Yes. Yeah.
So welcome to Armageddon if you're on our channel.
If you've wrestled correctly, when the manifestation of Armageddon, because I've seen this in a dream. I'll share this dream actually, because what I saw happen was as soon as there was a shadow that came upon the earth, I remember in the dream that I've shared with you about, it was like a very quick finish work, and it was like, and I remember I was assisting someone in cutting out a square. I had almost like a couture, and cutting out a square on the chest in preparation of the inset of the ephod.
Right.
And it was when it was like an event happened, and it was like boom, and then all of a sudden it was like looking around, like things are dusty and dark, but the finished work, the garment was art. So whoever this individual was, it was a seamless garment. It looked like a neo robe, and it was just like, I remember just a square, and I was folding back the flaps on the corners just in preparation for the inset of the ephod.
Right.
So these that have done the work have already gathered the stones, the vav, 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 and are waiting for the final vav, the quadrated vav of the final 3 stones.
Exactly.
And so they will be the completed 12 stones.
And so in other words, you can connect it to the Essenes, because Essene means breastplate in Hebrew, aka Qumran community, and they believed this.
Yeah, this whole language is based off the mathematics of completion of one is done through the ratio of 12 to 1.
Sure. Right?
And so,
and then when you multiply that out, 12 by 12 is 144.
Right. So
to finish this, so the place, this is the word call, to call, but if this is the place to call out.
Right.
So calling, and that's the root. And in front of it, we have Dam. We have the blood.
Right.
The blood is calling out.
Right. Absolutely.
But it's the blood of the covenant of mother, the covenant of promise. So again, we were talking about the piercing that takes place in the activity of life, the seed of life, spiritual piercing, spiritual intimacy, and then the blood of the covenant of mother.
Absolutely.
These are the children that come through the covenant of promise.
Yep.
This is a big deal.
Yep.
And it's by compressing light.
Yeah,
raising them up to become one.
It's a whole birthing language.
It is.
It's a whole new man.
Well, and that, it leads us to the next word, Ivrit. This is literally how you spell Ivrit. This is the Hebrew language. And it means to cross over.
Right.
Those who will have the eyes to see the fountain, because it's activated within, Bar, which means to be chosen, selected, pure and innocent, heirs rendered clear, heirs to the throne, through the olive, through the Tav. But I've already shared with people, this means a being of substance.
Right.
So you have substance now. This is the making of the words made flesh.
Right.
A being of substance. You are not hollow anymore.
And now we come to...
And then we get to the word where we're talking about Megiddo. Megiddo.
So this is the last word in this verse in Revelation, Megiddo.
And so we need to go to dig, just because they don't, and I showed you this earlier and why we talked about we needed to share this. So in Jastro's dictionary, which he goes through the Targum, the Talmud, the Midrashic literature, when we look at the word Megiddo, when we see it right here, it means a fortune. So that's why we were connecting it to Gad.
Which is already
the same thing.
But it's already in the breakdown of Megiddo.
Right, because we already shared that, right? So this is a fortune, an allotted gift, a precious goods, and fine fruit.
Right.
Not just lesser, lower fruit, the fine fruit.
Yeah. So Megiddo would be the towers that have grown up to be the completed works, right? They've exceeded excellence to become, twisting together mother and father to become the completed works of intention. This is the fortune.
And this is that Vav.
Right.
Connecting to Father.
Right. Exactly. Perfect.
Those who have crossed over and have substance because they went through the Aleph, through the Tav, the first and last, the beginning and the end.
So we'll probably end with this because we've already gone in, and so we didn't even get to Apocalypse. We're going to do Apocalypse on another little clip, but that is just Har Megiddo.
So now we fully understand that Megiddo, Armageddon, is the battle that rages within us.
Right, and I will do, hopefully in the next presentation, I'm going to take us into the amygdala of really what's going on in Har Megiddo, and how it connects to the tower of the amygdala, because that's the tower in the brain where either fear resides or peace resides, depending on the work that we've done. Because that's the wrestle. We're purging out the fear, bringing in the revelation of peace. Because this information is like, oh my goodness, you have nothing to fear. If you become the measure of intention, you're removed from this lesser narrative.
The waters of chaos.
And I'm not talking about rapture. I'm talking about yet I am. I'm talking about a greater frequency of simply blinking out. You've come to the resonance of intention that's qualified you for a removal. And we've just used a certain word to say, oh, lift it. I don't know, but I do see a removal in here, that those that are calibrated to a frequency are worthy to be removed.
To a higher dimension.
To a higher dimension.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
what it is. It's a higher dimensional.
Well, because as you ascend and you go into a higher dimension, you're more spirit being. So the lesser frequency wouldn't be able to see you.
Right.
You could still be here, but they wouldn't see you because of the spectrum of light is so limited here.
Right.